For Essendon versus the Gold Coast, the last match of the year. We're going to go through those teams right now and some other news that's come through today regarding contract situations for a couple of other key players, which might have some flow-on effects for the Bombers. We're going to go through it all right now.
And the iron will, no one doubts the courage of the boys from Windy Hill. They may try to break.
So first things first, before we get into the teams, some of the big news that's hit today. Harley Reid has re-signed with the West Coast Eagles until the end of 2028. So 3 more years. I think this is good news, if for no other reason that he's not going to be going to Hawthorn, Geelong or Collingwood. Hawthorn could have got a deal done had he requested a trade, given that Hawthorn had pick 8 or have pick 8 in the upcoming draft. They've got Carlton's pick, so they've got pick 8 and that and a good player could potentially get the deal done. I don't think Geelong or Collingwood or anyone like that has the draft capital to make it happen. But he has signed with West Coast until the end of 2028. He told his teammates this morning, and it is official. And I think this is good news, even though obviously that means he's not coming to Essendon, given that the Bombers have been linked to him for a little while. He, of course, played with some of the VFL boys, and he has some sort of friendship, or I think his girlfriend is related to Xavier Dersma or something like that. Some others might know a little bit more about that sort of stuff than I do. So there was that link to the Bombers. I think this is kind of good news. West Coast is languishing down there on the bottom of the ladder. The big super club from Perth, 100,000 members. And, if you just take your Essendon hat off and just look at the league-wide situation, from the AFL's point of view, we need this big club from Perth up and going again. They're so important to the competition. West Coast, one of the top, 1 or 2 clubs in the competition in terms of their status and support, and the big Perth market, over 2 million people now. Perth's getting really big, Perth. It's about 50% bigger than Adelaide now. So they're an important club to the competition, and we can't really have them languishing down there with 1 win. So I think this is actually probably good news for the competition. We'll see what happens at the end of 2028, whether he might want to leave and come somewhere else. I think that's why they signed these short-term contracts. He's going to be, 25 by then, or 2024, so right in the peak of his career. So that, that'll be, there'll still be a lot of speculation regarding Harley Reid over the next couple of years, but he will be with West Coast until the end of 2028. Jack Silvagni has said that he's going to be leaving as a free agent. So this might have some flow-on effects to Essendon, given that, we're one of the clubs who he talked to. So if he hasn't nominated a club that he wants to go to, but if he does nominate to Essendon, that could be relevant for someone like Jayden Laverde, who I don't think will remain on the list, but there's a possibility he could remain on the list given the injury problems to Reid and Mackay and Ridley. And Lewis Hayes is, of course, very young and raw at the moment, so he's a pretty valuable backup. But someone like Silvagni, if he were to come to Essendon, is a very, very good number 2 backman. I say number 2, he's not your Jacob Wiedering or anything like that, and he's not as good as Jordan Ridley when he's out there playing, but he's a very, very good, reliable backman, and if he were to come to Essendon, that would be the end of Jayden Laverde. It might be the end of Jayden Laverde anyway, but it does have some flow-on effects for Essendon potentially, given that we were one of the clubs who he was talking to. He talked to Brad Scott about 3 or 4 weeks ago. If you like the content I provide, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. I hit 2,000 subscribers last week, so thank you very much. I'd like to keep all that going. About 60% of you people watching are still not subscribed, so I'd really, really appreciate it if you could do that. So on to the teams, and Gold Coast, who need to win, we'll go through them first, have made 3 ins to their team: Jake Rogers, Bailey Humphrey and Daniel Rioli. So that's a pretty strong lineup. Bailey Humphrey and Daniel Rioli, 2 very good players. Out, Lachlan Gulbin, Oscar Adams and Alex Sexton comes out of the team. So there's no excuses for Gold Coast here. They just need to win this game, and they should, but we took it up to them, like I said, in that first game that we played against them 5 or 6 weeks ago, up to 3/4 time, and they will be nervous and jittery if it happens to get close. So as for the Bombers, what is the lineup for us? Well, the 2 late outs last week are both in. Jayden Laverde and Sam Durham are both in for the Bombers. Out is Jade Gresham for personal reasons. He didn't make the trip up to the Gold Coast. We're not sure why. Personal, obviously it must be a family-related matter or something like that. And Zach Johnson is out. I think that's disappointing. I'd like to see Zach Johnson in the team. I think we're better off with him in the team. I think he's skillful, he's hard running, and he's just the type of player I think that would benefit from just getting those games into him. But he's not there, so be it. So from the back line, we've got Andrew McGrath, Jayden Laverde, and Jaden Nguyen. Who will Jaden Nguyen get the job on? Mason Redman, coming off 2 fantastic games. Let's hope he can finish the season with a 3rd outstanding game. He's been one of our best 2 or 3 players for the last couple of weeks in a row, Mason. Lachlan Blackiston at centre half back, and Archie Roberts, the rising star, the potential rising star. I don't think he'll win, but he will be a good chance on the half back flank. The centre line, Xavier Dersma, Zach Merritt, and Luaman Lual, who retains his spot in the team. It's been talked about for quite a lot of time on this channel and on a lot of the other channels as to whether he should remain in the team. He's been okay without being outstanding, and I kind of think someone like Zach Johnson would be better. I actually like the idea of Zach Johnson on the wing as well. Someone like Zach doesn't have to be pigeonholed into a half-back flank role. He's got a good long kick on him. He's skillful. I think he'd be a good winger. Even though most wingers are tall, it's not a prerequisite. You don't have to be tall. But anyway, Luaman Lual is on the other wing. Half forwards, Matt Guelphy, Peter Wright, and Sam Durham comes back into the side. The forward line, Kyle Langford, Liam McMahon, and Isaac Kako. The followers, Todd Goldstein. Is it his last game? Could depend on a few things. Could depend on whether Draper stays or goes. A few things need to happen for him to stay on the list, I would think, given his age and the fact he's uncontracted. Archie Perkins is named Ruck Rover, unusually so. And Dylan Shield, in what will be his last game for the Bombers, is the Rover. Will he play on next year with someone? You'd think there's some club, maybe a North Melbourne or someone like that, that could do with his class. He is still a classy player. He's got assets, but he won't be playing with the Bombers next year. The interchange bench, Jackson Pryor, Jai Menzie. I suspect this will be Jai's last game for the Bombers. Angus Clark, Reece Unwin, and Saad El Houli. The emergencies of Vigo, Zach Johnson, and Archer Daywicks. So look, it'll be a big game for a few of the players here. Liam McMahon fighting for a spot on the list. I think he'll get it. He's the leading goal kicker in 2 VFL sides. He's kicked, 11 goals in 5 games. Went goalless last week against the very good Carlton backman in Wiedering. And if he can kick a couple of goals, I think that would ensure that he stays on the list. He's been very good. You've got players like Perkins, Menzie, Blackiston, who are all in that conversation of players who could get cut or potentially traded. All these players will be anxious to have big games. Blackiston, I think, should remain on the list, mainly because of his, 2 reasons. His durability. He's played since he's got into the team, he's played every game. And his versatility. We've got a player who can play ruck, because that's what we picked him as, a ruckman, and he can also play and has been playing in the back line. So I think he should remain on the list. So that is the Bombers' side for the final game. Finally, the final game of the season is here. It feels like it's gone forever. 2 ins, Jaden Laverty and Sam Durham. Out, Zach Johnson and Jade Gresham. I'm going to leave it there, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a great day. And as always, go Bombers.